toast, not a roast. Somebody told me that a little bit too late. All right. Before I start, I just want to say a few years ago, my other brother Bert got married, and I was the best man. So naturally, I had to give a speech. And it took a lot of courage. So I thought this time around, Bert would be the best man and give the speech for Chris's wedding. And I would get to sit back, kick my feet up, and relax. Unfortunately, Bert does not have courage. It's going to be easy. Let's see, where was I? All right. He thought to himself, how can I get out of giving a speech and somehow save face? And then he had a stroke of genius, and Bert got his wife pregnant exactly 9 months before Chris's wedding. So well played, Bert. Very well played. I'd like to thank you all for coming. I'd like to thank my parents and Jen's parents and everyone who helped make this occasion happen. Jen, you look absolutely beautiful. Way out of Chris's league. I've hung out with Jen and Chris quite a few times now, and Jen is the sweetest, happiest, coolest girl. Jen's friends told me some funny stories about Jen. Chris really likes being Jen's hero and saving the day. And sometimes they miss each other so much that they just wish they could see each other immediately. So, to kill two birds with one stone, Jen just locks herself out of her house occasionally. It's a great idea, Jen. I'm going to try that sometime. Okay. All right. I remember a long time ago looking over the side of a crib and seeing little newborn baby Chris for the first time. I decided then and there to teach him everything I'd learned in my 5 long years of being alive. Because that's what good older brothers do. When I was about 6 and Chris was still a baby, my parents would sometimes make me feed Chris's baby food. And you know how sometimes babies won't open their mouths so you can stick the food in? Chris would do that. And even though he was a baby, he needed to learn to respect his older brother. So, when my parents weren't looking, I would look into Chris's little baby eyes. And then I ate that baby food. Pretty good, actually. Unfortunately, I would soon realize that Chris was not a very fast learner. I had my work cut out for me. One day, when Chris was about 5, he was sitting on a wall, and I decided it was finally time to see how tough Chris was. So I pushed him off that wall and watched with pride to see what would happen. And I was sure he would take it like a man and get up unscathed with a smile on his face. But instead he went to the hospital to get stitches. And I learned that day his ginger skin was thin. I had more work to do. Like all good brothers, Brooke and I wanted to help Chris overcome his fears. And when he was 6, he had a fear of being nude in public. So one night around the time when we knew the neighbors would start coming home from work, Brooke and I tied Chris to the mailbox naked in the rain. Our methods were not always conventional, but we always found a way to teach him those important lessons because he was our little brother and we love him. One day in the front yard, Chris was standing about 5 feet away from me and he purposefully kicked a soccer ball at me as hard as he could. And it hit me directly in the area every man wants to be hit the least, and it hurt a lot. He thought it was really funny. So I said, Chris, I'd appreciate it if you wouldn't do that. And Chris said, well, Trey, thanks for teaching me about restraint and not overreacting. And I said, hey, no problem, buddy. And then Chris fell into a bush and had to go to the hospital to get stitches again. Quite clumsy in those days. Since college, Burke and I have worked mostly on the West Coast, so I don't get to see Chris nearly as much as I'd like to. A year ago, Burke and I met Chris in Jackson Hole, Wyoming to go snowboarding. We hit the mountain first thing, and on the first run down, Chris packed a snowball that was as hard as a rock and threw it at me as hard as he could. Again, he hit me directly in the area every day. And I went down hard. As I squirmed around in the snow in massive amounts of pain, I couldn't help but think to myself, dang, it's good to see Chris. In conclusion, despite my best efforts, there are some things I was never able to teach Chris, such as how to draw or how to grow chest hair. My only real mistake is I never should have advised Chris to join the wrestling team. That was my bad, and I apologize to Chris's friends about that. Chris beats me up all the time now, which I obviously don't deserve. After all the improvements my teachings have made in Chris's life, to Jen, I say, you're welcome. It's the best I could do. Chris turned out to be a fierce and fearless competitor who you definitely want on your team. He's a great friend and a great brother, and overall just an awesome guy. Chris is all grown up now, and I thought I was finally going to get to retire from teaching people valuable life lessons. However, a week ago, Burke and Brooke's baby, Colton Nicholas Roan, was born. So once again, I have work to do. Burke, Brooke, and baby Cole are all doing very well, and they really wish they could be here, as do we all. All right, let's all grab a glass. Chris and Jen, I am so happy for you both. Thank you again for bringing us together today. We all here wish you the very best. May you have many adventures and many happy days in your years ahead together. Cheers. Cheers.